Our non-Muslim brothers and sisters in struggle. It is a pleasure and an honor to see you here, because one of the things that it shows is that you're not going for the propaganda. See, if you don't go for the propaganda, they call you names. If you don't follow the definitions that CNN put out, if you don't follow the definition that Fox News put out, they look at you like something is wrong with you. But actually, something is wrong with anyone who would look at the Palestinian people, for example, and look at them as terrorists. See, this is the okie doke. These are the people who are stuck in the matrix. That when you look at the Palestinian people, then the Palestinian people don't have F-16 jets. You know how they talk about a war? It ain't no war. Every time they get attacked, it's more like a massacre. The Palestinians don't have F-16 fighter jets. They don't have M1 tanks. They don't have helicopter gunships. They don't have one-ton bombs. And if you gave them the one-ton bombs, helicopter gunships, F-16 fighter jets, now maybe you could talk about a war. It ain't no war. Those pea shooters that they flying over there, those little homemade rockets, they don't even explode. Come on now. They're not putting holes in the ground. Those little rockets ain't putting holes in the ground. It's symbolic. Because the people are saying that we're going to fight back. We're not going to allow you to oppress us. So even though we have pea shooters, we're going to use pea shooters on you, because we ain't letting you oppress us. That's what this thing is all about. And so if you go for the okie doke, you'll think that the Palestinian people are Goliath and the Israelis are David. You'll think that the 12-year-old boy with the rock is Goliath and the Israeli in the tank is David. And that's okie doke. And we don't go for that foolishness. So you can't deal with their definitions. Don't follow their definitions. No matter what they call you, don't follow their definitions. Because once you follow their definitions, their way of seeing things, remember, this is the country who said Nelson Mandela was a terrorist. This is the country who said that the ANC was a terrorist in the apartheid state of South Africa. You can't trust Uncle Sam on this. You can't trust him anymore, any longer. If you ever did, you can't do it. Because if they're saying that Nelson Mandela was a terrorist, then what did Malcolm say? Malcolm said that all of those who fight against imperialism, Western imperialism and colonialism, Malcolm said the Western press presents them as terrorists. Malcolm said this in 1965. And here we are in 2012. It's the same game going on. That if you're taking a stand against Western imperialism, if you're taking a stand against the United States empire, and yes, the United States is an empire. I don't even know if they discussed that here at UC Davis. They discussed that at UC Davis? The United States is the biggest, most powerful, richest empire in the history of the world. And check this out. As long as it's an empire, it will not be able to produce leaders that you're looking for. Did you hear what I said? As long as the United States is an empire, they will not be able to produce leaders, the true leaders that you're looking for. As long as they're an empire, the true leaders have to come from outside of the system, because the most influential Zionist in America is in the White House. Yeah. And I know, and you have to forgive some of our brothers and sisters, our older black folks. You know, when they see a black president, that's serious business, right? They seen Jim Crow, they seen segregation and so on and so forth, and now they see a black president. That's almost hard to digest. So we'll give the older black folks a pass. But the youth, no, don't judge nothing by the color of his skin. Just because Barack Obama is black, this is the same Barack Obama who believes that he, as a constitutional lawyer, has a right to assassinate American citizens without trial and without charge. That's Barack Obama. I don't care what color he is. That's evil. That's evil. This is the same man who's basically criminalizing dissent. That's evil. And many of us told you that Barack Obama was in again. He was in again. Why? Because the next theater of operations is Black Africa. It's already began. And they cannot have a white man bombing Black Africa. Because if they have a white man bombing Black Africa, the contradiction is clear. So what do they get? A black man with a Muslim name. And you got a black man with a Muslim name bombing Black Africa, it causes a lot of confusion. Don't judge anybody simply based on the color of their skin. Anybody. Because that's what the enemy has taught us. He's taught us that the way that you rate a person's worth is by their color. We reject that. We go by their, what did Malcolm say? Their conscious behavior, their intentions, and their deeds. And Barack Obama is doing things that if George Bush would have done, we would have called George Bush all kinds of racist. And now when Barack does it, it's okay. We playing a little color game myself, ain't we? But you ain't got to worry about all this foolishness. You know, the other day, one of the things you'll see you're noticing right now. You know, here's another part of the okie doke. They try to make you think that all Jews are Zionists. That's a lie. All Jews are not Zionists.
That's a damn lie.
And all Zionists are not Jews. And another thing that you'll see Jewish, anti-Zionist Jews speaking up and speaking out because they're looking at what's happening and they're saying this is wrong. You feel me? This is wrong. There was Jeremy Kaufman, lawmaker in Britain. He equated what the Israelis were doing in Gaza with the Nazis. That's a Jewish man said it. He said it. I ain't said it. He said it. I believe it though. But he said it, and he's Jewish. You're going to see the rise of many anti-Zionist Jews who are saying, I'm not down with this. The Israeli soldiers who are refusing to go into Gaza. They talk to you about that? They ain't talking too much about that, are they? The Israeli soldiers who are saying, no, we ain't doing this. Yeah, that's what's going on right now. So don't fall for the okie doke. Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism. Matter of fact, if they were following Judaism, we wouldn't be having this problem. You know what I mean? Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism. They're trying to connect Zionism with Judaism to give Zionism a legitimate look. Zionism has nothing to do with the Jewish identity. They're trying to connect Zionism with the Jewish identity to give it a legitimate look. It ain't about Jews. It ain't about Judaism. It's about Zionism. Zionism is the problem. And Zionism is racism. And you got to stand on that irrespective of what they say. Let me come to my close. Brothers and sisters, it was so beautiful what happened, I think, last year with the pepper spray. That was beautiful. That went all over the world. You know, check this out. I think Dr. King was right. Late 60s Dr. King, not I Have a Dream Dr. King. People don't know late 60s Dr. King. Seriously. You would hear Martin Luther King say some things in the late 60s, you would think it was Malcolm. Tell him, seriously. Yep. Right? I give a talk called We Shall Overcome by Any Means Necessary, right? The convergence of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, you would think it was Malcolm talking. And they were Dr. King's quote. Dr. King said this, late 60s. He said, I think the way to go. They said, do you still believe in nonviolence? He said, yes, but in the form of massive civil disobedience. Dr. King, at the end of his life, he didn't want to burn America up. He didn't want to tear it up. He wanted to shut it down. So you ain't got to burn nothing up. Don't tear nothing up, but shut it down. And when those brothers and sisters, when they were being pepper sprayed, check this out. When they're being pepper sprayed, and them guys were just pepper spraying them, and they were resisting nonviolently, you know what it did? It showed the corruption of the police. Didn't it? It showed the corruption of the police. Because had they got up and did something, they'd have focused on what they did. They would focus on the effect. You know how the media is. They don't focus on the cause. They focus on the effect, right? But those students stood there and they took it. And they took it. And for each minute that they took it, it made the campus police and the administration look worse and worse and worse. When you use nonviolent direct action, it produces mass participation. Anybody who comes to you and tells you, I got the stuff, let's go ahead and do it. That's the police. Yeah. You feel me? They're trying to incite you to violence, right? But the most effective tool that we can use, I think Dr. King is correct, massive civil disobedience. They did massive civil disobedience in Egypt. They did massive civil disobedience in Tunisia. They did massive civil disobedience in Iceland. Massive civil disobedience is the way to go. Don't tear it up. Don't burn it up. Shut it down. And so y'all have to keep that going, inshallah. Keep it going. Because when you use nonviolent direct action, it makes people think of the civil rights movement. Yes, it does. When you use nonviolent direct action, it makes people think of the civil rights movement. And more people are inclined to get involved. Let me end with this. We got to get ready to get ready. Imam Jamil, H. Rap Brown. Some of you know him from the 60s. He's a Muslim. They got him in prison now because he was the next Malcolm that was coming up. He said this. He said, we have to take the struggle to a higher level. We have to get ready to be ready. What's the first thing we need to work on? There's a story about an Indian chief who was with his grandson. And he told his grandson, son, every human being has within them a good wolf and a bad wolf. And one of those wolves want to take control. And the son said to his grandfather, oh, grandfather, which one will win? And his grandfather said, whichever one you feed. Now check this out. The culture of America is corruption. That's because of capitalism, and that's because of the rule of the corporations. So the culture is corruption. Now listen, while we were in this, one of the mistakes that was made during the 60s was that many of us were imitating what we thought we were fighting against. You can't fight against a corrupt system when we have corruption inside of us that we have to deal with. If we don't deal with this corruption here, then that means when we win, we'll become like the people who we replace. I'm saying first step in our struggle, in your struggle, in terms of the next generation, is that you have to go inside and make sure that the bad wolf don't take control. In Quran, Allah tells us about each one of us having an animal self, a lower self, and a higher self. This system, this capitalist system, appeals to the lower self of the human being. Buy things you don't need. Greed, that type of thing. It appeals, the type of stuff they put on TV, dumbing the people down. It appeals to the lower self. Now listen, we can't be in this bad boy here and not get some of that corruption. And so we have to have a program of a conditioning program to make sure that while we're fighting against the external corruption, we're also fighting against the internal corruption too. Because each one of us has a potential to be greedy. Each one of us has a potential to be arrogant. Each one of us has a potential to be selfish. So we have to make sure that that bad wolf is always contained. Also, it's not about making a living. It's about making a life. You feel me? It's not about making a living. It's about making a life. And part of the effects of the capitalist society, it has made us materialistic. Materialistic. What are you going to do with your living? I want to do this because I'll make this money, that money, so on and so forth. Look here. I'm talking to you here. I'm talking to the administration. I'm talking to the professors. Stop wanting to be rich. Stop that. And I'm not trying to romanticize poverty. I ain't doing that either. I'm saying stop living lives, because it's not the children who are just doing this. Grown folks are doing this. The doctors want to be rich. The lawyers want to be rich. The mechanics and carpenters want to be rich. They want to be rich. Because once you just want to be rich, then you're letting your soul go. If it's all about money, if it's all about making a living, you're not going to be ready to stand up for truth. You're not going to be ready to stand up for justice. You're not going to be ready to struggle and sacrifice if it's all about stuff. So we have to make sure that this capitalist system, this materialistic oriented system, has not corrupted us to the point where for us it's all about materialism. No, this goes beyond materialism. This is something greater than materialism. Justice is greater than materialism. You feel me? Freedom is greater than materialism. Standing for truth and justice and standing with those who are oppressed and, as the sister said, marginalized, that is greater than materialism. So it's not about making a living. It's about making a life. So y'all keep struggling, and be willing to deal with what they say about you. Well, this is what they say about us. Be willing to deal with them calling you anti-Semitic. You could be up here talking on behalf of, in support of Palestinians and be called anti-Semite. Who are the Palestinians? They're Semitic people. We're speaking in support of them. So how can we be anti-Semitic? It comes from this racist mentality, this arrogant mentality to deny an entire people of who they are. They are the only Semites. They are. And that's the danger of Zionism. That's the danger of it. So Zionism must be fought in all of its forms. Y'all stay strong, inshallah. And anytime you want us to come up and be here, we'll be here as soon as we can. Peace.
David, to Gaza, long live the Intifada.